It is Y105, Dubuque's #1 hit music station. I'm Steve Pulaski, and my next guest plays a man named Merle Lusky in the new film Accidental Texan, which will be in theaters on March 8th. Beyond that, he's known for his Oscar-nominated performance in Alexander Payne's Sideways, along with other roles in Spider-Man 3, We Bought a Zoo, and Wings, to name very few. It's always a treat to see him on screen, and I'm pleased he's on my phone line right now. He's Thomas Haden Church. How are you doing, Thomas?
Steve, I'm doing great. I got to ask you straight out of the gate, what's Dubuque named after?
Julian Dubuque, the founder of this town.
Julian Dubuque, and was he a Frenchman?
I believe he was, yes. I'm a transplant to Dubuque myself, Thomas, so I'm not going to lie. I'm not completely brushed on the history, but I do know where the Julian Dubuque mural is located in town.
That's awesome. Well, good morning.
Good morning to you, Thomas. As I said, your character in Accidental Texan is named Merle Lusky. At first, I thought he was a country singer at first, but it turns out he's an oil driller. Read the plot of this movie. It sounds exciting. What's it all about, Thomas?
Yeah, I play Merle. He has a family drilling business that is at the brink of disaster. And a young man shows up in town, played by the brilliant Rudy Penkow from the Netflix series Outer Banks. And but he plays an actor who has just stumbled into town. We meet, and absolute strange bedfellows, but we figure out a way that is advantageous for us both to partner. And I think it's a very charming, really kind of a hopeful story about both of us and the community. And it's funny, it's poignant, it kind of touches on I think a lot of entertainment points.
Were you familiar with Cole Thompson's book? What attracted you to the project, Thomas?
I was not. I knew what the book is called Chocolate Lizards, which I knew what those were. That's a style of cowboy boot. So I knew what Chocolate Lizards were, but I was not familiar with the book. I was sent the script, which had been adapted, obviously, and then I started talking to the writers, the director, and it really was appealing to me because I love playing characters that are Texan, and it just to be able to play a West Texas oil driller was really something that had never been presented to me, and I just liked it. I thought it was a charming story, and I saw where it could be very expansive as far as the storytelling.
He's Thomas Haden Church. Again, that movie, Accidental Texan, going to be in theaters on March 8th. A few more questions for you, Thomas. Sideways is one of my favorite movies, and your performance in it is absolutely exceptional. I remember reading years ago that you auditioned for the role of Jack completely naked. Is that true?
You know what? It's funny how social media has kind of blown that a little bit out of proportion. Here's the real truth of it is it was my last audition for Alexander, casting director. There was a casting assistant, a young lady, and then there was a producer in the audition. And there was a scene where Jack was supposed to be naked. And I asked if it was okay for me to be naked. Everyone said yes, including the young lady, who was actually, I think she was operating a video camera. So I did. I stripped down, and when I took my boxers off, I glanced over, and I could sort of detect some discomfort. And so I just said, you know what, I'm gonna leave my shorts on, and then I just rolled them up to where I was pretty much wearing like a thong, but I was completely naked, and then I had to switch gears and. Because it looked like I was making somebody uncomfortable.
It's good to get the definitive version of that story again, yeah. Thomas. I appreciate that. Did you become close with Paul Giamatti on that film? And what do you think of his collaboration now with Alexander Payne, The Holdovers, meriting another Oscar nomination 20 years later?
I think it's wonderful, and I think it's Paul is one of the preeminent actors of our generation. Paul and I got along wonderfully. Whenever I get to see him, it's like we never missed a beat. We just pick up right. We just make each other laugh and tell stories. But he's a wonderful, wonderful guy. As is Alexander. Great people, great collaborators. And I was really happy to see that Alexander and his writing partner David Hemmingson on that on that picture, that they were able to create a character with Paul in mind, that Paul was able to really go into his life, his life story, because he comes from a lineage of educators. You know, his father was the president of Yale, and his mother was a teacher. His grandparents were teachers. So it was a great thing for Paul to get to do, and I think he's wonderful in the movie, and it's a great film.
Your work in the Peanut Butter Falcon was very strong, too. How was it working around Shia LaBeouf, Dakota Johnson, these rising performers at the time? What was the experience like on that movie, the Peanut Butter Falcon?
You know, I was only there for a couple of weeks. It is one of my favorite performances and one of my favorite. I love that movie. I'm hoping to collaborate with Shia on something in the future. We've had conversations, and that was actually the first time I met Bruce Dern, and who's also an Accidental Texan. But it was great. It was great. I had scenes with Dakota, and she was lovely, and Zach Gottsagen, who played Zach in the film, who was also, delightful and charming, and for an actor on the spectrum, he was just wonderful and so easy to work with. But, it was a great experience. We shot in Savannah, where my daughter goes to college, and it was a great experience.
He's Thomas Haden Church. I'm going to give you the final word to promote Accidental Texan. Again, it's in theaters on March 8th. The floor is yours, Thomas.
Accidental Texan's a charming little movie, and I hope people will go see it in theaters. It's pretty much nationwide. And I want to leave it there.
Thomas, I greatly appreciate your time. Cannot wait to see Accidental Texan, and I always love seeing you in movies. Thank you so much for your time today, man.
Absolutely, man. Be safe.